can see the reversals here and there. So I don't think you ever see 200, not for a while. The VIX, this is the short term. You know, there's no movement. There's no, you know, the VIX is a volatility indicator. And even though the markets have been going lower, there's like no panic, meaning that when the markets go lower, this should be going higher. So there's something going on here, and I just don't want to walk into a huge short covering rally. So I've been holding these Dow puts for, I don't know, since like August 12th, so over a month. I started buying them at $1.50 to $2, and I started getting very nervous. My whole thing is I really wanted to hold these. I had them, the expiration was October 21st, and I still think there's a big down move, but you know, everything in sequence, right? These things, you know, never go in a straight line. So I covered in. You know, I wanted to make 20 on these things. I wanted to get into 2 and get out of 20. I got out at about 480. So I made about 3x on my money, and I put a lot of money in there. So I guess I can't complain, but there's a little bit of a, I don't know, a disappointment in that. I just wanted to hang, but I think there's just too much danger today. The markets are up in the pre-market session. I kind of smell a rat. We're so oversold. We're down 6% since the CPI report last, whatever, Tuesday, 6.5%. So we're down 6.5%. You got a VIX that's not moving, and you got everybody bearish, and you know, just sets the stage for a lot of mischief. And so, you know, err on the side of caution. I'm kind of looking at this perspective channel. This is the Dow Jones, and you know, who knows if we can't just then go and bang the upper side of this channel and then set the stage for the big one. So I'm not giving up on my bearish thesis here, but you know, the market goes in sequence and cadences. So this is the DIAs, the ETF. So right here would be about 31,500. So what, about another 800,000 points on the Dow. So, you know, very possible that we could see 1,000 move, you know, point move higher, you know, in a down market. And then I would load up. You know, actually, you're always on Fed day, you know, you always get a game of opposites. You get a head fake, you know, it'll go down following the Fed meeting, then it'll rise and just soar, close on the very high, and then tomorrow it'll just start coming down. So if that's the case today, if we take off today and we close, you know, into the stratosphere, I probably will short it on the close. So we'll see what happens. But look, this is a day where, you know, you know, it's going to be all over the place, and the volatility is going to be, you know, huge. So, you know, buyer beware. You know, I've been talking about Schlumberger for a while, and this thing has got, you know, higher lows. So it looks like it's, you know, got a resistance level, but, you know, if it's a resistance, it should come off. And instead, what we have is this kind of sequence of higher lows. We have this pattern here. So on one hand, you know, I saw that there was a resistance level. On the other hand, if this is a resistance level, this should start going this way. You know, we should start, you know, if this is a double top, we should have gone through 36. And it should look like this. So I always look at charts, and then I see not only what I think, but what does the market do, you know, in response to what and if it doesn't do, you know, the thing that I think it's going to do, it's going to do that other thing. And there's been a whole sequence that I've talked about that I made a whole bunch of money in Facebook about 4 years ago, in this exact sequence. So you get this reverse triangle, you fall, you come lower, you put on a bottom, and this thing eventually makes new highs. So I bought the 40 calls for next week. I forgot what I paid for them. And based on, you know, today, I might even buy the 41s for a couple of weeks from now. I just feel like there's, you know, if this thing just keeps playing with these resistance levels, eventually it's going to, and then there's a lot of blue sky for this thing to go into. So I'm looking at Schlumberger. What I like about these kind of days is that you have very, very small risk. I mean, if you buy the stock, you buy the stock at a new high, you put your stop loss somewhere below there, you've got a very small risk for a very acceptable upside. And this is what I always say, trading is always about risk and reward. It's finding these little minute places where the market coils in such a way that you can play with a risk reward that is very favorable. You take $1 risk to make 10. Those are the trading situations that we look for. Now, again, it takes a long time for us to get to there. And so this is really what your challenge as a trader is to wait to find these little gems, these little pearls. And even if this doesn't work out, my risk is so small, it doesn't matter. Pinduoduo is kind of hanging up here. The more something kind of hangs up, in a phase and doesn't sell off, I mean, this thing still looks fairly constructive. So again, it all comes down to risk and reward. Forget the Fed, forget this. The market pulls forward all kinds of stuff, but you got to look at the under. So, look, this has been the dictating pattern. And, whenever people think, well, this is the bottom, markets don't top and then bottom. But then we got another looking bottom here. And sometimes it's at some point, trends do change. And we have, especially that key reversal right there. That's like at points where it wants to go. That's like a dagger in the sand. So it feels like we have made a low. We've got that double bottom. Now we've got this cup and handle. And now, what I look at is when you get to these major points is, the more this thing doesn't sell off, the more it just kind of coils and builds energy here without selling off, the more it's kind of setting the stage. I mean, if this was a real resistance, then this should have been, a top, and tops, by nature, it should top, but it's not. And now you have a 1, 2, 3, 4 week coil, this energy coil, just like the Qs. The more energy it builds, the more it's going to come out one way or another. And this kind of feels like it's building, but you probably could give it some time to just see even how it closes this week. And then, again, what I love about these kind of things is that you can put risk rewards that are very tight. And, even this week, you could put a buy stop above here and a sell stop there. And by definition, you've got a minute risk for possibly, a, much greater. So, thanks for bringing it up, Chris, because I do think it's worth, just keeping it on the radar. And, you could just maybe let the rest of the week, trade out, see how it closes. And, even just put a resting order above all these highs. Just let the market do the work. Put a resting order at $70. And, if the market goes down, then, oh, well, no harm, no foul. But on the other hand, you could wake up one day and just be into a good trade. So this does feel like it's, let me just kind of look and see what the monthly is looking like. See, on one hand, I mean, I don't look, markets that go straight down, they don't go straight up, but, this is, still got room where it could still retest, maybe go back to these highs, so there's still some room where, this thing could come out of. This just feels just like a one-way train, too much. It feels like you need at least a relief rally, even if you're going to go back. So I think this is worth watching. It's kind of a perverse chart and what have you. And, there's a lot of other things going on. I'd rather play Schlumberger, but I think that you could put a buy stop above this weekly high and, and a sell stop there. And so, that's a very, tight risk for, a much greater return. So, I would just watch this thing. You could put a pending order, watch for the rest of the week to play out and just keep it on your radar.
What about like Salesforce?
That does not look happy, huh? That looks terrible. That looks absolutely, looks like meta. It looks like death. It looks like, you know, this is what restoration hardware, but this one looks worse than all of them. And you've got this drooping neckline, which implies that this thing's got a lot lower to go. Now, you know, we're in this area and, you know, you could still go back to 170 and do this. So, you know, it's very hard to shoot at these levels, but you had a weekly key reversal and it just feels like the next support's like 135. But this is on a bad path. This thing is over. Looks like a paradigm shift. This was a, you know, a loved entity, and now something has obviously happened, and it's on a death spiral. And that's the thing, when there's a paradigm shift, you know, people don't see it. They reflexively go back to these loved names. Look at this. I mean, this is, boy, this is, the problem is, I mean, look at this. I mean, just your energy is just straight down. I mean, I want to get something like that. So I don't know what you do with this. It looks so freaking bearish. And, you know, you're right at the moment of truth. So this implies that we should come back to the beginning here, 60. Wow. And, you know, you can see the reversals here and there. So I don't think you ever see 200, not for a while. So I don't know what you do with this here, because the, you know, energy's been straight down. It looks so bearish. I don't know. You just, you know, it would be good to get some kind of trap in here and maybe another rally, but this thing is this, I would keep this on your radar. So you can see maybe, you know, you get into a little bit of bear trap where people chase these lows and then they get stuck up here and then you get it. But I don't know. I don't know if it's going to give you that. But this looks awful. The problem is it just leaked. I mean, you did have some, you know, pullback here. So look, I don't want to get short right here. You know, it's like, where's your risk? So this is an interesting one, Chris. Really interesting. Thanks for putting that up. Yeah, this is interesting. But, you know, restoration hardware looked the same thing, and it had a, you know, huge rally. So this is the game of chicken we play. So you can see, yeah, 45 is 1.3 million.
$1.3 million short.
So pop out a profit for 118,000 there.
So you can see how this is going crazy now. You can see how the market just going nuts.
I bet like $1.6 million on this position. I'm showing right now $23,000 gain.